Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, I think, right? Yep. November 27th, and we are here on the Wake Up and Resell with Reseller Revenue Facebook group. And we meet every Monday through Thursday at 8 a.m. Central Time, which will change to 9 a.m. Central Time starting in January. So it'll be a little bit later, hopefully help out some people being able to join us a little bit, not quite so early in the morning. So join us on the Facebook group if you'd like to come in our calls and participate. We have a great community of people in that group too. So we're going to talk about online sourcing today because I don't know about you guys, but for me, where I live, I just don't have a lot of what I sell real plentiful and available to me. So online sourcing is my next best option. And I wouldn't say 100%, but pretty close to that for my um, sourcing is done online. So how many of you guys source online? Do you guys source online? Do you do, and if you do, what do we use and what do we like? Or so I love people to share their experience with online sourcing, good, bad, and ugly. And whatever you guys don't have, then I will jump in and help fill in the blanks. People I'm staring at in here, every single one of you I know sources online. Maybe not Suzanne, but I know the rest of you do. Meg.
Yeah, so I source like half online, half like in person at like thrift stores and flea markets and stuff. Usually I prefer to do eBay for online sourcing and try to do like jewelry lots that way because it's reassuring that you can return it if it's like an INAD. Um, and then because a lot of other places don't. And then I've also used Shop Goodwill, but that was before they upped once they started upping the fees even more, the shipping, then I kind of like died off on that. And then I just used Hybid for the first time ever, like this past week, because it always intimidated me for some reason. I don't know, it was just like first, I don't know, I never took the time to figure it out. So it was intimidating how to figure out what auction was what, or like how to know like which lots were in the same auction. But now it's that I see it, it's really easy actually. And now I'm like, oh, I'm gonna start looking at like clothing too and stuff. But I
So
can
I
see
feel like
you
that's
can
a
totally
huge
overspend on that stuff.
opportunity.
So it'd have to be definitely just like a small part of the business.
Well, I feel like clothing and shoes. So there's one of my outlets that they actually bought out an antique store. So they've had like 7 or 8 of the jewelry sales for it on Hybid. He does new shoes and they just don't go over very well, and I feel like on Hybid that there is a opportunity for clothing buyers and shoe buyers because people aren't maybe necessarily thinking of going there yet. So there's not as much competition.
Yeah, I saw
So,
cheap cowboy boots on there last night. I'm just trying to kind of stay away from shoes lately, but
mhm.
yeah.
Kimberly does 80% online. Harry does about 50% Shop Goodwill and eBay. Devin has some Facebook Marketplace finds. Let me scroll up here. Harry, I know you do some online sourcing.
Oh yeah. I picked up Shop Goodwill pretty consistent. I'm in Shop Goodwill every day. And people complain about the high prices on shipping, but what I like is that you know what the shipping is.
That's true.
You 100% know what your shipping's gonna be. The reason why I struggle with high bid because some of these auction companies are just terrible. They're they're complicated at best on their shipping, and at worst they're just dumb.
Mhm.
There was one high end trombone I was thinking about bidding on, and I asked them for a shipping quote, and they came back and wrote, well, we're no, they handed off to a third party, so some shipping store or whatever, and the shipping store goes, we're heading over there anyway, so we're gonna give you a deal. It'll be 350 to ship this trombone to you. I mean, it would probably cost them 30, 40 bucks for postage if at absolute most, in if they took counter rate or something. And I'm like, y'all are insane. But you never know with those shipping online shipping companies.
Yeah, that I do. I keep a list of ones that have just really been terrible on the shipping, and then I just don't shop from them again. But some of them, like the pick and pack, I think it is when they source it out to the pick and pack. The pick and pack people don't really seem to charge too bad. I have pretty good luck with that. But I agree. Some of them, it's like, what are you doing? But I think I had a $220 shipping bill once for jewelry.
Now,
So
like, I mean, this, in fact, I'll show you. I just bought this one on high bid last week and got it in yesterday, and it's kind of it's kind of an odd story because it was one. I mean, my shipping was great on it. I think they charged me $30 total to pack it and everything, which they probably didn't make any money on that. That was probably just slightly over what they paid for shipping. But one of the other problems with online sourcing is just seeing what you're getting. Because I kind of took a chance on this one because I looked at it and they didn't have the brand listed. And I looked real close and I go, I think that's an antique con horn, which would have been a really nice horn. I get it, and yesterday I was disappointed because it actually ended up to being a West German copy of a con. I'll still probably equal out my money on it. I mean, it's not a bad horn. It just doesn't have the brand name. So I mean, it looks good, but so that's the other thing that I find. Sometimes you just got to take the chance, and sometimes it just does not work. So
yeah, I feel like well, I have my old con saxophone sitting in my basement that it's in their case. It's just I feel like someday I'm gonna throw it up and try to sell it because it's been there for, well, I've had it for my whole life. So but yeah,
get
yeah,
250.
be better than what I sitting in my basement. Um, Audrey, you do some online sourcing too for jewelry, don't you?
Yeah, so I started off when I decided to start sourcing jewelry, which was not that long ago. I was buying things one by one on an auction site, Auction Ninja. And then I went over to CT Bids a little bit, which had more of the lots. Haven't done a whole lot with CT Bids. I probably can count the number of purchases I've made over there on one hand. But I'm trying to now, I really would like to get better at sourcing probably off of eBay. I've bought a couple of jewelry lots off Mercari. There's a lot of fees for the buyer over there. So I'm here because I'm really hoping to get some good pointers on sourcing on eBay.
I will say Audrey is pretty impressive. If you I think it'll be on the video I haven't released yet, so I'm getting ready to release the video that I did with maybe it was on the second one. So I think maybe it's the Audrey's second video that is already up. And she has a pretty extensive, like in her bookkeeping and Cheryl's workbook. And she shares her screen. She's very transparent. If you haven't watched the videos with her, please do, because she's really sharing her journey and been very open and letting us see everything she's doing. And she in Cheryl's workbook in the cost of goods sold area where we record that, she's like really good at like putting notes about the auction house, like overcharged shipping or how fast it took them. And she's just been making all these great notes about the actual auction house. So it's a really good way to track that without having to keep a separate spreadsheet because we already are tracking that for our bookkeeping. So it's a great place for her to keep that. And she did that on her own. I didn't hadn't even told her to do it. So she's doing a good job with that. So Facebook Marketplace, I saw somebody say something about that. Good, bad, and uglies of that is, well, sometimes people are just hard to deal with. That could be on any platform. But it's the same as if you just do it blind online. If they ship it to you, you don't always know what you're getting. I've had some great opportunities on Facebook Marketplace, and I've had some terrible ones. It's just like anywhere else. That's why eBay is a little safer. I'll talk just a little bit about how I do focused searching on eBay for what I'm looking for. I think sometimes it's a little scary to go at, like, people think, well, there can't be anything good on eBay or that other people would have found it. And that's just not true. I've gotten some great jewelry lots on eBay that usually it's from a non-jewelry seller. So whatever niche you're in, it's very hard to source from somebody that's in the same niche as you that's a reseller. That's my opinion because they've already picked out the really good stuff. Unless you go and look That's right, Harry. The key to eBay sourcing is finding bad listings. And like Meg said, the trick is to look for bad looking lots and photos. That is so true. So if you find one that's like, I search in a way that like maybe we don't do our titles, right? But just that somebody that's just throwing up their grandma's jewelry might do titles, like old jewelry, junk jewelry. I've had some great junk jewelry lots that had some amazing things in them. So I'll search junk jewelry lots. I'll search old jewelry, right? Is that how we're going to title something? No, but that's how somebody that doesn't know what they're doing might title something. So search in different ways on ways that people that just don't know what they're doing would list it. Misspell words on purpose when you're searching on eBay. It used to be easier to search that way and now it tries to correct us. But if when you search that way and you click search original inquiry, then it will search the misspelled way. Brand names, items. You know, you can spell brooch about 100 different ways, right? Misspell something in a way that you think other people might misspell it when they are, you know, in a hurry or they don't know it like we do. eBay, Russell says, jump to page 12 and start there. All listings there have been a while and they're not getting any traffic. Absolutely. So the first thing I do is I go to newly listed and buy it now, just because in case there's something really good that nobody else has seen. And then I do like what Russell says, and I go right to like way down the line, because those people they're way more likely to take an offer. They're not getting action on their stuff. They're way more likely to take what we're wanting to give them.
Those are typically the people that are crying about their sales are slow and eBay's horrible and they can't get rid of
Mhm.
anything. And they'll take the 50% offer or less, usually.
Yep, they will. And that's a really good opportunity. Go look at the ones that have terrible pictures from far away that you can't really tell what's in there until you really look, and then use your knowledge to try to figure out what's good. Because some of the ones that have terrible pictures, everybody's overlooking them, nobody wants to deal with them. And sometimes it's just a little old lady or something that just doesn't know how to take good pictures for eBay. Sometimes I've had my very best jewelry lot on eBay was somebody that only had that as that was our only listing. And their mom had died and they literally just put up her jewelry box with a lot of the jewelry in it. And so the title was bad, the listing was bad, the photos were bad, the jewelry was amazing. That was their only listing. But I do look to see what else they're selling. And if they're a jewelry seller, I'm probably not buying it. Only because I'm not going to have any really great finds unless they only sell lots. Sometimes if they only sell lots, you can find some decent stuff. But so on HiBid, it's the same way, right? So people have saved searches on HiBid. There's people that all they do all day is scanning HiBid. So I search in weird ways because some of those auctioneer guys are terrible at doing their listings, or they're not paying attention. So I will search Trifari spelled wrong. I'll search Coro spelled with an A on the end. That's one of my favorites, because if you look at the Coro signature and you don't know what you're doing, then how are you going to spell it, right? Because it looks like an A on the end if you don't know what you're doing. So let's see, what else do we do? Larry has something he's been working on, and I'd been talking to him about it, and he was looking into different things, and it ties right into our online sourcing.
Yeah, is anybody doing any using any watching software that'll automatically, go run your previously stored queries?
I've experimented with some, but I haven't found any I really like yet.
There's some out there though that will do that watch for you. Harry?
Kind of.
Yeah.
I found some stuff that kind of does it. I don't even remember the name of it, but when I went into it, it was like, this is more trouble than it's worth. I haven't found anything that I thought was really usable.
So let me pivot then. When you are doing these saved searches, what kind of things are you looking for? I'll start with you, Carrie. What for your, what does that process look like? At some frequency, you're running a query, right?
Yep. I have saved search. So use your saved searches on eBay, because then you can just look under your saved searches tab and just scroll through to see the new listings. I'll search, like brooch lot, vintage lot, rhinestone lots. I always use the word lots because I don't want to do the individual items. So those are my main ones. Just
Do you search based on, you're asking for the return set, obviously, to come back sorted, most recent?
I
What-
do, but then I do what Russell says. But yes, I do just so that maybe I have a chance to hit the brand new thing, to hit the newest thing that pops up before somebody else gets it.
Right. And do you also throw in any other kind of criteria around days on market, uh, price?
I don't, but
So for you, it's, and I,
mhm.
I'm just thinking out loud here. Um, uh, you would be looking for something that was listed 15 minutes ago that has your keywords in the title.
Mhm.
And you might have 10 or 20 of those that you would want to run at some frequency, right?
Correct. Yep.
How would you like to, how would you, your ideal way to be informed when it hits?
For me, they could do signature, they could do, or I mean, they could do email, they could do text. Either way would be fine.
Anybody else have a preference on how you would want to be alerted um, when it's time to drop what you're doing and hop online? What's your, what are people's,
Just text because I don't pay attention to the emails I already
Right.
get from safe searches, so.
I think
how about,
and it'd be great to have like a list of the current ones that are in play.
yeah,
I was wondering about something being in real time. I have a few searches. It's not so much for reselling, but things that are difficult to find. And so I'll get the email. It's like here's a new item for your search criteria, and you click on it, and it's literally like this item has already been sold. So
well, reading between the lines of what you just said, the acknowledgement or the alert, for lack of a better word, would include a link to the live item.
yeah, I mean, eBay and the eBay search does that if you have items in your
Right.
safe search, but I don't I'm pretty sure it doesn't populate in real time. Like, so if there is a software out there that is scanning or can somehow recognize this item meets the search criteria, and I think eBay does it like a daily dump, like
Right.
whether it be one item or four items, but maybe a certain time frame hits. But there's been quite often that I'd be like, oh wow, let's check that out, and it's like this item already sold, and it's sold
Right.
even before the email timestamp. So
Right.
if there was something like that, I would be interested in that, almost like just like a real time alert.
Yeah, right. Well, the problem with real time though is unless you're in their infrastructure and doing what's called a push and in their system with their software and pushing this stuff out to quote listeners, you have to ping the thing at some frequency. And if you ping that thing, say every second, they're going to get pissed off and they're going to shut you down. Right. So if you do it once an hour, it's probably okay. And the sweet spot is somewhere in between. So
There's probably time frames in their API call. I bet they list it.
yeah, yeah.
But there is software that'll just buy it automatically for you if it meets your criteria.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's taking it a step further, assuming that you totally trust the software that's behind that.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet.
What is,
I-
and I don't know the name of it, but I know Tex talked about it with some of the guys, some of the bigger sellers that he knows that use that kind of software, and just
Right.
it's just always running and making purchases.
I had an acquaintance that wrote something similar for stocks, and he ended up losing a fortune because it got into a weird buying frenzy, and it was the software was not fully baked when he put his money on the line.
It's so hard to predict what searches or any computer algorithm is going to do in something this complicated.
Right.
It's hard to predict. I wouldn't want to do something purchase.
Yeah, especially on used items, that's impossible to know that
Yeah, trying to tell the computer software what to buy for me, like.
So Meg, do you have any stored stored queries that you run at some frequency?
I have ones that I did a long time ago, but I never honestly look at them, and I more start out doing like the ending soonest ones, because I'll usually try to do like the auctions. But now I'm thinking maybe like I've been starting to implement more looking at like the newly listed ones too.
Right. And
Yeah.
in those,
It's so hard
in
to
those,
like save the searches because I'll just like search goofy words like Carrie said, like misspellings or like old jewelry or like I don't
and
know.
your primary search criteria is just title, keywords in the
Yeah, but
title?
then because the things that like let's say search junk jewelry because a lot of people put junk think that things are junk and put it in there. Like that's gonna bring back like a million search results. So that's not even helpful to get a daily email of it. So that's why I don't do the alerts for it. Because
Right.
anything too narrow would be someone who knows jewelry. Or at least I
Yep,
haven't
you
figured
gotta
out
do, it's the odd ones. I'm gonna share, high bid for people that haven't seen it. Hey, I think Larry's just, if you have any specific ideas of different things with like how we query things, it's a really good idea. And Larry's the guy to bounce stuff off of like that, or to have him just kind of share your thoughts and ideas with it, because you know his brain works really good in that arena, you know, definitely more so than mine. So and he's got the software experience too. So we appreciate that you're willing to think about those things with us, Larry.
Yeah.
definitely.
So here is high bid. This is one I use a lot. And I don't know if it's just because I'm familiar with it and comfortable with it, but some days I do big, long, broad searches. Some days I do more narrow searches. I haven't been sourcing it all on there right now, so anywhere. But I have noticed that sometimes if I go too narrow on high bid, I miss things, because we have to think of like an auctioneer. So an auctioneer, if they don't specialize in jewelry and they just happen to get a box of jewelry on it, then they might just put it as jewelry. They may not put it as vintage jewelry, or they may not call it a brooch. They may not call it anything. They might just put box of jewelry, lot of jewelry, tray of jewelry. So I will lots of times put in just jewelry and do a search, and then you can filter this down. And I usually filter to list, you know, ending soonest, because if you don't filter it ending soonest, you get stuff that like you miss stuff that's ending right now. So I'll put time remaining. You can also search by distance if you just want to pick it up, which is nice if you have some that are local that you can just go grab. So do notice that starting bids, just like on eBay, some of them like this has no bids, but the starting bid's $1,100. So you want to watch that starting bid and not just assume it's something really low. So I do you know, very broad, and then I'll do like lots. Lots of times I'll just put like jewelry lots. And you know, you just learn what kind of works best, but it's similar on all platforms. For me anyway, I will want to search different ways and just to see what's hitting. And some days one thing will hit good, some days another thing will hit good. Something else to remember is if you have a big lot and you can't tell what's in it, like if I couldn't really tell what is in this lot and I buy it it looks like a really great deal, like, oh, $10. And then I get home and none of it's individually listable, then it wasn't a good deal. You know, it's the same as sourcing rules as usual. And sometimes I feel like it's easy to get into an emotional point when we're going online and bidding. So sometimes it's easy to be like, you know, oh, just one more bid and I'll have it, or there's, you know, it's just me doing this, or, you know, like one more, I know I'll have all the lots. Or what happens is sometimes um if you leave your max bid up, and then all of a sudden what happens to me is I'll just win one bid and then I got to pay shipping just on one item, which really is irritating. So I'll try to find lots like this, and then I'll zoom in and try to see what's in there and see if there's, you know, does it look promising? Does it look like crap? Does it look like, you know, what do we got going on here? And is it just jewelry? Is there other stuff in there? And then you also have to think about weight, because you're going to be shipping, you know, weight's going to be a big factor. I have not found anything that works as good like the bidding software, Meg, and I've looked at,
Okay. That's my request then, Larry, pretty please. Because if not, it's
you know,
just so hard. You have to set the alarm system to put the bid in, or then you could get emotional or like accidentally
see, I
start
just do the high bid. I just do my max bid. So
why
yeah,
don't we
you
put it
you
off?
do your max bid. So you'll go
Why
in
don't
here and
we-
I'll bid, and then I'll put my max bid in, and it'll bid it up to that amount, because otherwise I don't I don't tune into when it's closing because otherwise I'll hit that one more bid and I overspend.
But high bids, you can't really do the sniping because so many of them have the little 5 minute.
It's a soft close. Yeah.
Oh, that makes you can't. Oh, damn.
Yeah, there's no sniping.
There has to be a program that would do it. Maybe.
Hey, Carrie, do you,
Yeah.
if this is a little, you know, maybe not too much of a curve, but I think with this topic, like I've used a place called Proxy Bid, and we did it one time, and it was hosting an auction for a franchise called Blaze Pizza, and a bunch of them went out of business here in the local Metro Detroit market. So but I didn't really know what I was doing. So like, can you show your screen? Is it, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but is it possible, like, can you look at some of your past bids and can you just say this was a good buy and why, or this wasn't a good buy?
I
You know,
can. It's the same as any other sourcing, you know, like sometimes you'll have a good one and sometimes you don't. Where's
like maybe with some of your past purchases, or like Meg said, if you maybe let excitement maybe get the best of you, and maybe if
oh,
you
I
paid up,
don't. I put in my max bid and I walk away.
right.
There's no emotional bids on my behalf. Because I know that I cannot be trusted. This was all just happened, so the prices aren't uploaded yet.
I have a hard time deciding what my max bid is going to be on a lot.
I don't ever.
Individually, I can figure it out easier, but on a lot, I don't know what to put.
See, I think I have the opposite problem because on an individual one, I feel like I feel like I can overpay a lot easier and I want to pay less. So on a lot, I look at it, I'm trying to find a lot that I've had on here. I actually buy these people's damaged brooch lots a lot of times. But you know, I'll just look at this. Let's say they weren't damaged, right? And we have like mid-range quality here. It's not like high end. It doesn't look super high end, but it's pretty decent. So one decent brooch, I would pay maybe, these aren't $10 brooches. These are like $5 brooches. So all you got to do is count up the ones that look good. Take that times 5. There's your max bid. That easy. So if I count this up and it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and let's say that one looks like crap, so I don't count that one. This one's a buckle I don't want, I don't count that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There's like 16 good, decent brooches in there, let's say. So I take 16 times 5, there's my max bid.
And then you would do
But
the premium on top of that, or would you?
That's right. So that's what I was going to say. You have to also then think, then you have a premium on top of it and shipping on top of it. So now these $5 brooches are going to turn into $7 or $8 brooches. And if I'm okay with that, then I'll go ahead and do that. Otherwise, I'll back it down and I'll do 4. 4 times 16. What's that? There's my max bid.
And your times 5 is because you're planning on selling them for 20 to 30?
I just have, it's just a sourcing price bucket I have. So a decent brooch, I'll pay $5 for.
I see. Okay.
It's just, that's just a me thing. That's not really any science behind it. So, but yeah, lots are simply that easy for me. I spend no more time on that than that. Because there's so many unknowns with these. So I gotta be on the low end.
Yeah, and some of those other items in there, when you say you have a hard line, and like you don't go, well, that could be $2 or $3, or overall I'll spend more because cumulatively these other little foo-foo items have value. You just say they're just coming along for the ride.
Yeah, I only count value on the ones that I know that I really want. These little crappy ones, I give them 0 value. Because what might happen is one of these really good ones might end up not having a back on it. And I can't tell. And now it's of 0 value. So now I got to eat that cost and the rest of them. Because now if you have one bad item that you counted as a full item and now it's no good, now it's got to pass its value on to everything else. Can the other ones hold that value? Maybe, maybe not. It's real easy to overpay on. I think it's super easy to overpay on anything, to tell you the truth, but on lots of, for sure. Because now I'm going to add a 15% premium on top. Now I'm going to add shipping on top. Yep. It's not easy. I will say that it used to be, I would say a year ago, I would have what I would call home run auctions that were just amazing, right? And I don't really hit a lot of home run auctions anymore. And so my primary sourcing is not online auctions anymore because I'm just not, I don't feel that much anymore where I feel like, wow, I'm just getting this great deal or this is really going well for, this was awesome. I just don't. I'm finding private buys more like that. I don't find them on online auctions as much. This is like one of those boxes that, you're like, well, it could go either way. You have to remember the smart auctioneers are going to put the good stuff on top. And that's just the way it is. That's the truth of the matter. This to me just wasn't worth it. Like there's a nice pot metal brooch, but how do I even know there's a back on it? That's a nice celluloid brooch. But I don't know if it's in wearable condition. Was it worth $30 that box? Maybe. Yeah, Harry's right. I always buy considering looking for an exit strategy. I'm the same way. So if the trombone, it didn't pan out as good as he'd hoped, but he'll sell it as a vintage horn. And I do the same thing. I try to think, okay, if I have to throw all this crap in a junk lot, am I going to be able to get my money back and get out of this buy? And if I can't, I move on. So I don't let little brooches, like I don't let the fact that I really love old pot metal brooches. I don't let the fact that I can see one sitting on top make me buy the rest of this crap. And like this one, that might be a nice brooch, but how do I know it's not broken? I don't know that, and it doesn't show me. So I don't let just a few really good items sitting on top make me blind to the crap underneath it. And that's the way a lot of online, they're not stupid, right? So they're going to put good stuff on top a lot of times, not all of them, but it's pretty common. So you can see I had a lot of bids in on this auction, and I had put my high bid in and then I walked away from it. That was in October. I don't remember if I liked the lots I got out here or not. I ended up with this big gigantic, this thing right in here. I thought it was like a little plastic jewelry thing or something. It ended up, it was like 10 freaking pounds. It was like old, like Pyrex. It was like super heavy and it was ridiculous. I thought it was like one of those celluloid jewelry boxes. I didn't want it, but I didn't realize it was going to be quite so big. But, I don't remember if this one was any good or not. I don't really think it was, if I remember correctly. So after I win an auction, I get home, I sort it out. I make sure I sort it out all in one setting. So I'm old school. I make myself little hash marks. I make myself the little auction. I put up at the top, here's what my total price out the door was. So that includes fees, that includes my purchase price, and it includes shipping. So I have an out the door price at the top of my little table I make. And I put hash marks for every good listable item I pull out of that jewelry lot that I had. And then I count from there. So if all of, I don't even think about the purchase price, all I'm doing is making hash marks. So I make a hash mark for each one and I give each hash mark a value, usually of $4. That's usually what I'm doing, unless they're amazing. Like if I would have won this lot, these were pretty good, I think. I can't see the back, so I don't really know, but they looked really good. So if I would have gotten these, I may have allotted maybe $8 a piece for these for value. But they went way out of my bid. Like I'm not paying $275 for that lot. If I could see the backs of them, maybe, but I don't know if these are China repos. I have no idea. Just because they call it vintage rhinestone lot doesn't mean they're vintage. Am I going to trust this auction house that just takes anything and everything to tell me how old that jewelry is? So I think I had put, I think I bid like 60 or 65 on this lot. There's no way I'm paying $275 for that lot. They look great, but I don't know they're great. So I'm not paying that kind of money for it. But let's say I had gotten these home and I'd unloaded them and like this one was missing the back. This one was missing stones. So then I'm going to make a hash mark for all of them, but those two. Those two don't get any hash marks. And then I have to divide out, whatever, if I gave it a $5 price, then I'd be taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's only 8 that are individually listable. Now I have to take my total price out the door, including shipping and fees, and divide it by 8. And that's my cost of goods sold for that, for that auction. So I do too. I don't really look at the descriptions on the title, but I do always scroll down to here and I look at the description down here because sometimes they'll put something in the description like missing all backs, missing stones, and sometimes it's hard to catch that unless we're scrolling down here and looking. If they say third-party shipper, so this auction house does in-house or recommended to third-party shipper. I know from dealing with them before, if you have too many bulk trays, they're going to send it out. And it's going to get expensive fast. If they do it in-house, it's not bad at all. They usually charge me $8. So make sure that we are paying attention down here too. It'll tell you if you have to, yeah. So here the buyer's premium's 18%. You're gonna pay an extra 18% on top of your purchase price plus shipping if you're not picking it up. And the 3% discount for cash or debit. So a lot of times they and you have to give them your sales tax exemption before the close of the auction. You cannot just upload your sales tax exemption to high bid and have it count. It's each individual auction house. You need to give your sales tax exemption too. So I used to feel like I could just get steals of a deal on online auctions, and I feel like I probably do about the best on eBay, really. I do pretty good on eBay. This was a pretty good auction, but like it's really easy to get drawn into this, like, well, that's only $20. I could get all those brooches for $20, right? Is there really any of them there I want? You know, that bird might be okay. Maybe the Christmas tree might be okay. That one might be okay. So then it's not worth it. Like, I don't want to pay over to, I mean, I don't want those because there's just too much filler. There's a lot of filler in this lot. I don't want filler. So if I'm going to go out of my way to bid online, I want great stuff. I don't want filler.
I mean, to a degree, some of that filler is a negative. You almost have to take money away because
Absolutely.
you have to process it. It's
Yeah.
sitting on your desk, or it's like, what do I do with this crap?
Yeah, and just like I've said it before that for whatever reason I was thick and it took me a long time to really understand when tech would say that he will pay more to only take what he wants. He's not I just want the whole table guy. He wants just what he wants. He'll pay more just to take the stuff he wants. That's exactly what that means. Because I don't want this other stuff. Then it ends up in piles and then you feel a little obligated to list it or make a lot and then you make a couple lots and it's just nope. And what Russell said is right. Then you're really actually paying $30 to $40 because you didn't have the quality to spread the wealth around, so to speak. So it's real easy to look at some of these lots and be like, this one might not have been so bad. But I don't bid these up at this auction place because I've had a lot of broken stuff, even though they're displayed beautifully in the cases. And then you got to ship the cases. So this auction house ships in these cases and the shipping gets real bad, real fast.
Oh my God, I wouldn't have thought of that. Thank you.
So I've had these from this auction house come and like there's no backs on any of them. So that kind of blows your budget, right? So I don't think they're a bad auction house, and I definitely am not saying that. I'm just saying when you buy an online auction, I think I have zero tolerance for people whining about like Harry didn't whine about his thing on his trombone because he bought it knowing it may not have been what he thought it was, right? So if I bought all these and they all sucked and they all had, like no back, so they all had whatever. Yeah, would it be nice if they said that? But we know when we buy online like that, sometimes it's just not good. I'll call. If I'm going to really bid up on something, I'll call and I'll ask. Like on here, I think it was this one. I know these people. And this actually ended up being pretty good because like the stuff I did get, like that little thing I sold for like $70. So that was a really good deal. But I will ask if I see an auction, like this one was like had whole bunches of J King, brand new J King, right? So when that happens, I want to know where it all came from. Like, was that somebody's collection? Was somebody a QVC hoarder like this with the Heidi Doss? Or like, how do you have so much brand new pretty much of one brand? Because I want to make sure that they didn't buy a bunch of knockoffs and now they're selling them as Heidi Doss, but they're not really signed or they're knockoffs. I want to know where they came from. And so I will call the auction house and I'll say, hey, where did that stuff come from? I have a lot of the auctioneer on high bids that I buy from a lot. I have a lot of their personal cell phone numbers, so I can text them and I'll be like, hey, lot, da 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 da, tell me about it. And sometimes they'll say it's a bunch of crap. Don't, like they'll just tell me. I do keep this auction was okay. This was somebody's personal collection, but some of these lots was total crap. I mean, like, I think this lot, in fact, was total crap. Like, it looked good. It looked like it had potential. It was total crap. And I paid $42 for total crap. So some of the lots were good, some were bad. But I do keep a list in my phone that has the auctions that, like, hey, they sort their gold. Hey, they don't sort their gold. They let really good stuff by them. Like, this seemed high, right? Because I paid $30 for it. I sold it for like 180. So that was fine. I don't mind paying that. So if you have time though to research each and everything, just like, that's one of the perks of buying online like that, is I had all the time in the world to research each item. I can go in and comp it. Everybody else has that time too. So that's where and gold price is super high right now. So just thinking about what I'm saying about jewelry is that, man, a lot of those lots that are just big boxes and stuff, they go high because you only need one piece of gold and it pays for everything. So I sent out 4 or 5 pounds full of scrap this morning to my gold guy because I'm like, I gotta get rid of this stuff, or by the time I can drive, I'm gonna have like a sack full. Harry says, I found comping online as great as learning opportunities. I think so too. Because like I said, they put that big lot of brooches in there, and your brain immediately goes, wow, I can get all those brooches. They look really nice for that price. That's great, because that's only $2 a brooch. But if there's only 3 of them you really want, then they become like $10 brooches because they got to eat the cost for everybody else. So I've gotten a lot better about that, but I used to be kind of a, wow, that's a good deal. Now it's only $2 an item. Not really. And like Devin said, you start paying for shipping on things you didn't want in the first place, or you pay for clutter. I don't want to pay for clutter. I'm past that point in my reselling world. I don't want to pay for clutter. CT bids, as Audrey mentioned, CT bids. So it's when people are like moving to a nursing home or assisted living, they're downsizing, that company specializes in that. So you can find some great antiques or old stuff, or it's a really good source for that. However, I have never not got screwed on shipping with them. I don't know if as a company they have terrible shipping policies. I've had terrible luck with their shipping.
I have learned to only do CT bids if it's going to be a pickup.
Yes, I have done pickups and done great. Also, at their pickups, lots of times they'll have, I can't remember what they call them. Basically, it's stuff that they either didn't get listed, or it's stuff that people didn't pay for. And you can go in and there's stuff sitting there and you can buy it on the spot if you want it. I've had one of my favorite auction pickup stories or one of my just memorable things. I went to CT bids to pick up great jewelry, had nice stuff. But I had gotten a little, like a cool, like spiderweb vase. Really neat. I go to pick it up and it's freaking huge. In the picture, it looked like this big and it didn't have any measurements. It was huge. I ended up selling it for really good money, but it was just like, wow, I should have fortunately, it looked a lot smaller. So that's one thing we have to do, is we have to ask for, just like on eBay, if you watch YouTubers talk about, they buy antique photographs and stuff, and then they get printed off copy paper of the picture, where they think they're buying the item, but it's a picture of the item printed off, but they didn't read the description quite right. It's the same thing with online auctions. They aren't, Rowdy and I took a trailer load to the auction company. Local auction companies are amazing, guys. You need to find your local auction companies. They're not only amazing for sourcing a lot of times, they're amazing for dumping your crap. So Rowdy and I had a whole enclosed trailer full that we took that was all stuff that this season at flea markets either didn't sell or we didn't want. Although, side note, Rowdy accidentally sent all my ratchet straps. I'm like, Rowdy, where's my ratchet straps? They were in the trailer. Well, shit. We look on the online auction. Oh, they're for sale. Guess I sold all my ratchet straps. Got to start over. I But I ratchet straps, extension cords, things like that. I hoard them and I like them and they're mine and I know what I have and I know which ones, go right, and Rowdy sold them all. So, if you can, they'll take anything. My local auction company will. So what's the worst that can happen is I don't have to go to Goodwill and dump it off. Right. And the best thing that might happen is sometimes I make really good money off silly things that I couldn't sell at the flea market, but people paid me. We've sold things for hundreds of dollars at that local flea market. I do junk jewelry boxes and I always send a couple junk jewelry boxes and people will run them up every time. So they take 35%, but then it's gone. Nothing comes back home with me. It's just gone. And every time I drops, I have lots of times you have to call ahead and get a date. Like the next date available for ours is in February already. They're way out. So that auction, since I have to make the drive there with the trailer, I will check and I'll put bids in probably on that auction for pickup the day I have to go drop off because I got to be there anyway. So kill two birds with one stone. But yeah, if you can get in with your local auction company and dump your stuff off, it's a great resource. Because I mean, I always make my money but we took a thimble collection that I had we took a whole bunch of watches or whatever. Here's what can happen to you. Sometimes they pile it all in one big pile and sell all your stuff in a lot. And then you don't hardly make any money. Sometimes though, they took every single thimble and they're selling it separate. I'm like, what? They had 19 pages of our thimbles. I'm like, they weren't even that good. I don't know what they were doing. But you don't really have a lot of control over how they sell your item, is what I'm trying to say. They might just put it in a box. They might lot things up weird. You don't always know. But anybody have any questions, thoughts, or comments on online sourcing?
Just make sure you read the description of what you're buying.
Yep.
My wife found a local online auction and it's an app only. They don't even have a web presence. She bought a bunch of stuff. We went and picked it up. She's like, look, I got these McDonald's McCafe K-cups, 2 big boxes. There's 200 cups of them. And we got them for $6 a box. And we picked them up and I was like, why did you buy decaf coffee? So now we have 2 big boxes of decaf coffee that we have no use for.
Decaf coffee with a sell-by date of 2021.
Yeah. But
And you also have to be careful because things can look really good on the front. And if you can't see the other side of it, sometimes it's total trash. There's no recourse on auctions like that. You get what you get, So Rowdy has gone to pick up farm equipment he's bought online. And, like the one angle they didn't take a picture of, there was a reason why they didn't take a picture of it, right? Because there's something really bad wrong with it. We've had make sure that if you are into big things, that you have enough room on your trailer, because nothing sucks worse than when you absolutely cannot fit everything you bought on a trailer and you got to make another trip. Been there, done that. Although my husband can Jenga about anything.
Another thing is if you make a bid on something and it's way out, that you actually want to go get it. I don't know, this happened earlier this year. I bid on a ton of stuff at our local auction house and it was kind of out a little bit, but I'm like, oh, I'll win a bunch of this. The only thing I ended up winning was a collection of concert shirts for my son for like $12 or something. So I ended up driving out in the middle of nowhere to pick up these stupid concert shirts. And I mean, they were okay, but they wasn't anything special. And and the only reason why I did it is because I buy stuff from this local auction house and I don't want to get on their bad list of not picking up an item. Otherwise, I would just forget it because I paid more.
That's a good point too. So in high bid, if you don't pay or don't pick up, the auction company marks it that you didn't pay or pick up. You'll be blocked from bidding on most auctions on high bid. That happened to me on accident once, and ended up not being my fault. I was like, I didn't even buy anything from you, and I don't know what happened. She had a glitch or something, but I wasn't able to bid anymore on high bid because they had put me on the naughty list. So you don't want to be on the naughty list on high bid. Yeah, I've had lots of crazy things happen with. Make sure you have room in your car. That's a good one. Make sure I'll put in max bids and I forget about it like Harry, and then I'll win one thing for $4 and now I got to deal with it. But it's just part of the deal. My husband has fat fingers and called me one. And so lots of them, you can't retract your bid. You make a bid, it's yours. And I don't know what he was doing, but he called and he's like, you got to fix this because I just bought a $2,500 commercial stove range hood. And I'm like, he said in a different state. I'm like, what did you do? And we ended up being out a couple $100 because we had to. So they said, well, if the guy that was second bid still wants it for that bid, you pay the difference and we'll sell it to him. So that's what we did, but they could have very easily just stuck us with it. I don't even know what he was doing. I don't know why we were on a commercial kitchen auction, but so they don't have, there's no like take backs, or if you decide not to pay for it, not to pick it up, you're going to be on that list. So make sure it was worth it to you. I do really like, I like shopping on eBay simply because if it's really bad, I can just send it back, or I can just open a return. And that's something that's amazing about eBay that people underestimate. Carolyn?
Yeah, the only thing I would recommend on eBay is that if you're buying from an established seller who sells either, if you're looking for jewelry or whatever, is to get a second buying account so that if you make a best offer and they happen to look at your store to see if you're selling the same thing, they may not take your best offer. They may want something higher. I find a lot of times that if I use a buying account that has just, I only buy from it, I don't sell anything, they'll accept a lower offer than they will if they know I'm turning around and selling it.
Yep, I agree. I don't use it though. I just use my buying account. I've never had any problems, but it's not a bad idea. And I don't care. There's huge jewelry sellers buy from me all the time. It doesn't make me quickly make a new account and outbid yourself. Yeah, that's true. You could do that. Except high bid, like you got to give them all your, they're extensively check your information. I agree with the authenticity thing. Don't just trust it, even if it comes with a certificate. Yep. I would agree with that.
Do you it was mentioned earlier about the using like fatfingers.com and I used to collect like baseball cards, and it was suggested like Cal Ripken, for example, people would list his cards as his last name is Ripken, but people would spell it Ripkin.
Yep.
Mark McGuire was another big one because it's McGuire versus M8, like MacGuire, and people would misspell it. I don't think I personally have an absolute opinion on this, but I had somebody that worked for me that that kind of put him in a tizzy. He did reference, he kind of felt that was unethical, like an exploitation. And I guess I think like we can't be the buyer and the seller. You know what I mean? Like we're trying to buy stuff, so we have to be an advocate for that cause. But I also can kind of see his point, because like if I have a mistake in a listing, or if I'm looking at stuff online and I see somebody has an error, I don't mind reaching out, contact seller, and hey, heads up, this is what you got. I don't know if you have any thoughts just in general.
Yeah, I hate them. I know that's mean. it's because I have store stalkers and they want to point out every single thing that might be wrong or that they disagree with my listing.
Yeah.
So if it's absolutely wrong and I just misspelled something, that's one thing. But if it's just to correct me on something, like save it. I'm crusty like that though. Like does that irritate anybody else when the people are like, well, I think I'm like, that's fine, just move on. I don't need you to reach out to me. The other jewelry sellers like it here, I've had some find something of mine. I want them to tell me we're friends, whatever. I don't it's kind of like when people are on Facebook Marketplace and they think somebody's charging too much because it's not what it is. They feel the need to like comment on it. And if you don't want to buy it, move on type of thing. That's how I feel. If you don't want it, move on. Like, I don't know. I don't really like, it's not my thing. I don't really want people correcting me so much. Mostly because in jewelry, it's not black and white, right? So if I say something's from an Edwardian period, but you really think it's Art Deco and you want to argue with me that it was after Art Nouveau, I don't care. I don't want you to tell me about it.
But with that, do you feel, and I appreciate that feedback genuinely. I think like tact is lost in general, especially in
Mhm.
this day and age, and you can get somebody coming at you sideways and snide like they're better than thou. I used to sell the Cutco knives and Cutco cutlery, and I will try to source it at times. But if somebody says like, you know, Cutco butcher's knife, but I can see it's the chef's knife, that fundamentally matters. It's a different knife.
It does.
But I also have a way, like I'll reach out and I'll just say, you know, hey, just a heads up, that is actually the that's known as the French chef's knife or the petite. They have two different ones. And just trying to help you out. If you adjust your title, you'll very likely get you know, be more successful in a sale. It's just a quick snippet, but it's not trying to basically be a dick to them, you know, if I can be frank on that.
Yeah, that's right, Meg. Jason Adams is a big jewelry YouTuber, and he always that people try to correct him on things all the time, and he'll say, "I don't play your reindeer games." That's kind of how I feel too. Like, I don't know. So I do say the exact same thing that that Russell says. You know, I'll say, "Thank you, I'll look into it." You know, whatever. But really, I want to give him a big finger emoji, but I don't. But I say, but I say thank you, and I move on. I want to like, want to give him a big finger emoji. That's how I feel about it. Isn't that awful? But like if I went in a Meg store for something, I don't really have time. And I think, yeah, I have tons of store stalkers and they're huge jewelry sellers and they feel the need to like look up every
Yeah.
single thing.
I'd be
they have
happy with
to
that if you found an error, not just random people who message me. Like,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
So if I'm in Meg's store and I see she misspelled something or that she had something wrong, I'm going to reach out to her or she did it to me. Actually, I think she has done it to me. I mean, there's people in here in this room that have done it to me. And I'm like, hey, thanks. Like, I'll fix that. Like, that's great. Not to random people. I don't. But yeah, I appreciate it when people have I had something really expensive that Crystal in the other group was like, hey, Carrie, you got that spelled wrong. And I fixed it and it sold right away. So I was like, hey, Crystal, thanks so much. And then I'm not in other people's stores much unless I'm doing a review, but yep, I don't play ring gear games kind of person too.
I get mine are mostly like I'll get the thing going, hey, them jeans, is that a 34 like on the title? It's because the specifics say 36. And then I'll look at it before I even respond to them. I just pull up the link and look at it and I go, oops, I did make a mistake. And I fix it and I go, thanks, appreciate it. Look into it. Or I
And
fix
that's really
it
nice. Like
and it's
I,
done.
I get that. And I don't know why I think it's because in jewelry, there's just so much gray area. And, and I didn't just throw it up being dumb. I obviously thought about it. And, but yeah, Jason Adams gets corrected all the time. And he's just like, whatever, I don't want to, because there isn't really any right or wrong necessarily. I mean, it depends on who you are and what you think about it. Yeah, Lynn says, I don't have time for that. I don't either. Yep, just move on. If you
I
don't
can
like me, don't like it, move on.
I feel like I could tell the difference the way they ask or mention it to me in the message, whether they're legitimately going, hey, I'm interested in these, but I'm not sure what size they are,
Right.
versus hey, you made a mistake. Oh, now that you made a mistake, can I get them super cheap? I could tell
Yeah.
that it's the way they word it.
Yeah. And I had one the other day that I'm sure I sold similar off my own item. And my title was like for something totally different. Right. And it's somebody that buys from me all the time. And they're like, hey, I think you messed up when you did your listing. Like, this is like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, thanks. Like, but it's somebody that we have a relationship, like she buys from me all the time. She was legitimately just trying to help me out. Right. And then she turned around and bought the item. So that was fine. But, yeah, I mean, I see it. I see the point. I just don't have time to do that. But like, if it's somebody I know, I'll reach out. Um, all right. Anybody else before we wrap up today? So we have no calls. We're done for the week. I know it's kind of some people like it, some people don't, but I'm not going to have calls on major holidays. I'm just not. I want people to spend it with their families. I want people not to have to worry about like, oh, we better log on so we don't let Carrie down and have her there by herself, because people are always nice to me like that. I just want people to spend it how we should be spending our days off or our times off. So major holidays, no calls. I ran the poll about Christmas Eve. We won't have calls on Christmas Eve either. So Christmas and Christmas Eve, no calls. And then we never have them on Fridays. I feel like Fridays are a really great sourcing day for lots of people. It's always a light call day anyway. I need to source on Fridays a lot of times. So that's why we don't have calls on Fridays for those that didn't know. Well, Kimmery, I'll be working, so I won't be with my families either. We'll be working. So I
At
kind
the
of miss
same
the
thought, Kimberly.
I'll be by myself working, so it won't matter to me either. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys, for joining me, and thanks for participating. And that's it for this week.